3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of Full Press Radio. This is March 29th, 2021. With you today is myself, Carl, and Stevie Nick.
Well, I didn't watch any movies this week, so I don't have to derail this week's podcast.
Well, here's the thing, Nick. Have you watched the latest trend on Disney Plus?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about.
I think I know what you're talking about. And it's nothing to do with Marvel.
It has nothing. No, we're not talking about superheroes this week. I mean,
different
sort
kind
of
of superhero.
Yeah, they're mighty. The Mighty Ducks, The Game Changers, is on Disney Plus.
I haven't watched it yet. You know what? I was going to fire it up last night before bed, and then I realized it was like 42 minutes. And I thought this is an earlier in the evening activity.
It's definitely not a late one, but it will hit very close to home for you because there is a character in the show who does a podcast, is named Nick, and goes by the name Nick the Stick.
Come on.
So,
how old is this character?
Oh, that
like ballpark. Like, are we talking like 12
10.
or are we?
Yeah.
10.
Yeah, like young.
It's weird. That was my nickname as a 10-year-old.
Well, I guess so. We're at a crossroads here. Do we follow in the line of Disney and go with Nick the Stick, the podcaster, or hold our own and you stay as Stevie Nick?
No, I think, I don't know. I got to see it. I have to see it to see what kind of kid this is. Like, if he's likable, I'll switch.
Yeah, from what I've seen, you're probably he's fine.
Us two grown adults, we're gonna pass judgment on this 10-year-old.
Exactly. Yeah. I would like to have. Let's now spend the rest of the show critiquing all of the children on that show.
So, did you watch the whole episode?
I watched some of it. I did not. Again, I was like, "Oh, this is 40 minutes." I was expecting something much shorter, but I mean, good, interesting. If you want, we actually on the website, Herman, he wrote a review for us today, so that's up on there. So you can go see what he thinks. But I would watch it first. So it's kind of. I'm
gonna watch it first. But can you give me just a little bit of preview on a scale of Joss Whedon's Justice League to Zack Snyder's Justice League? Where does it fall?
I would say that it is probably a 7, a 6, 7.
Okay, so more towards the Zack Snyder side of it.
No, I'm going Joss Whedon. It's not like any of like what I want it to be more like silly with itself, and I'm hoping as I get more into it and as we're able to, it becomes like sillier and just realizes that it's a Disney show about children playing hockey.
Isn't it a kids show?
I mean, I assume that I think we're the target demographic of this, are we not?
I haven't seen it yet to gauge that tone, but if a bunch of 10-year-olds are the protagonists, I personally, I would have a hard time putting myself in those shoes to feel relatable.
Well, I guess what it is the target demographic is the parents of those kids, so that the kids watch it because, I mean, Emilio Estevez is back.
Yeah.
And that's for us. That's not for the kids.
Coach Bombay.
Exactly. But, and again, like Dylan Playfair, Jonesy from Letterkenny is the coach. And I really want him to lean more into the Jonesy than he is the straight-laced coach.
Well, maybe they'll get there. You know how it works with TV shows. The pilot episode always kind of sets up the story. It takes a few episodes to get into the swing of how the show is going to be.
Exactly. Again, it's the Mighty Ducks. Let's be a little silly with this. Let's have some fun.
Totally agree. Maybe not as silly as the cartoon of aliens who came down to Earth to fight crime for some reason.
I mean, I think we all love Space Jam. It wasn't that far of a stretch. Aliens coming down and we have to play a game of basketball against Michael Jordan to save all of the other players.
It's pretty silly.
Yeah.
Space Jam 2 is coming out soon. Look at this. We've already derailed the show with movie talk.
We've already done it. Hey, I'm excited for Space Jam 2.
Me too. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
The pictures look awesome so far.
Yeah, I'm not watching it for the pictures though. I'm more watching it for the action. Like if they're going to make it a 1,000-page flip book, I'm not here for that.
That's fair. They'll probably sell it as a 1,000-page flip book though. It's easy merch money.
That's true. Very true. Well, we've got a lot to get to this week. There was some big news and some big happenings in the NHL. And let's start with the one involving your Detroit Red Wings. Were you watching this game in question when it happened?
Well, I mean, first of all, the Detroit Red Wings were involved in the situation. Yes, in the fact that they were there and they were present. But in the retelling of the story, I don't think there's a lot of talk about the Detroit Red Wings.
No, they are not the protagonists in this story. They are the Nick the Stick of this.
Yeah, exactly. The joke, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're getting at? the comedic relief.
I mean, somehow the most embarrassing thing in that game was not the Red Wings.
Okay, good one. Okay, look, let's take the cat out of this bag. Okay. So I believe it was last Tuesday.
Yes. Tuesday
last week, the Detroit Red Wings were playing a game in Nashville against the Predators. There was a hot mic moment between the play where referee Tim Peel was heard saying on television that he didn't want to give the penalty to Nashville, but he wanted to get them a penalty, or it wasn't much, but he wanted to give them a penalty earlier.
Yeah.
Before the mic cut out.
Right. Shockingly. And that was going to commercial, right? So going to commercial, that came across, and then everyone had 2 minutes to really dive deep because it came in loud and clear.
It was very loud. And to answer your question, yes, I was watching the game, but I did not hear it. I believe it was on the Nashville feed.
Yeah, it was how I understood it as well. So we've got that happening. And so up until that point, watching the game, did you think, like, was it a heavy Red Wing penalized game?
No, I didn't think so. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say because this team is just not that good. So they end up penalized a lot.
So up until that point, Detroit had gotten 1 penalty.
Okay.
Nashville, 2. So there was that. Then he comes out and he says that he wanted to get Nashville penalty early, presumably evening the scales, right? That there was some sort of premeditation with this. Philip Forsberg gets a penalty, a pretty weak penalty at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Tim Peel thought so too.
Justified it very well.
He admitted as much.
So then we wake up the next morning, Tim Peel removed from officiating NHL games for the rest of the season. And he's retiring at the end of the year. So he is done officiating games. Do you think that I was surprised. I was very surprised that was the steps the NHL had taken, because they repeatedly steer clear of any sort of talk or punishment of officials. And it seems like they are almost like hands off.
Yeah. And the other surprising thing was how fast it came. There's no investigations, no interviews. It all kind of came down very quickly. A very shocking decision. I agree with you. The NHL does not like putting things out there. They like keeping everything behind closed doors, and they'll tell you what they want to tell you, and they'll say it in the way that they think is going to be best for them. But they acted like swiftly on this, and I was very surprised.
Yeah, usually they don't leave those French doors of Gary Bettman's dining room. They just stay in there, and all those decisions and conversations are in there. But you're 100% correct. Like, with how fast it came, right? Like, I mean, the investigation was pretty easy. You watch the feeds, you go back and you say, hey, yeah, you said that. And then you ask the guy, hey, did you say that? But do you think that this is something that happens all over the league?
Yes. You know who else thinks that? The NHL. We know, everybody knows. It's literally part of the game. Coaches, players, they're all part of it. They interact with it. They understand that this is how it works.
And they know, right? Like, we know. You see it all the time, right? You're like, oh, that's a makeup call. Or you miss a call against a team, right? You miss a call, and instead of like owning up to it and calling it, you just let the other team get away with something as well.
Yep. Or how about when on national broadcasts, color commentators will say they've put their whistles away for this one. It's the playoffs. You got to play, the refs don't call things in the playoffs. Like, everybody knows that it's happening.
I mean, the playoff example is even more blatant than what we see in like inside of a game, right? Because like in that regard, you hear it talked about as like game management for these refs, right? Like, well, they're trying to like keep the game fair. They're trying to keep it from escalating. They're trying to make sure that, they're keeping it safe, which, I mean, if you're not calling penalties, then probably not doing that. But again, you get to the playoffs and completely different officiating style. And that has to come from the league. Like, there's no way that change that comes at playoff time doesn't come from Colin Campbell and the NHL Department of Officiating. No chance.
But I think everybody wants that, though. I think the players want that. I think the refs want that. It makes for a faster game. It's more intense. It's better hockey. Everybody wants that.
Yeah. And so why don't we get that? Why don't we just ask for that all the time then? If that's the case.
Yeah. Why don't we? I don't know. I mean, like, look, there's a rule book. There are certain things you can and can't do, and the referee's job is to make those judgment calls on the ice when they see something, right? And during the regular season, they might call, some of the weaker stuff, whereas in the playoffs, they kind of let that weaker stuff go, but they kind of still have to call the obvious stuff.
Like a puck over glass.
Yes.
But like a slash, you can get away with.
Yeah, a little bit. A little more in the playoffs, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
So why don't we see that in the regular season? I don't know. It's longer. There's probably less intensity coming from the players and the benches. I think that, all these makeup calls, they kind of come out in the wash at the end of the season of an 82 game season. You get some makeup calls, you lose some makeup calls. I think at the end of the day, it's all pretty even, which the playoffs is like, what's the saying, a flash in the pan, 7 games, super intense. You probably don't get that kind of evenness at the end of it.
No, you wouldn't. And I you see all the time where like a team will complain about calls not going their way, and maybe in a 1 game, 2 game stretch, sure. But for the most part, there are very few teams that like hands down get lambasted or like treated unfairly by officials. Literally the only one that I can think of, and there's a reason behind it, was the Flames after that Dennis Weidman hit on the official.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're not getting that call. Yeah. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And again, we all sat here and acknowledged that was happening and didn't care.
It's just part of the game. And I think anyone who's been watching hockey for a long period of time understands that. I mean, Carl, when I played beer league hockey, which feels like it was another life ago now because I haven't played in over a year, but we had the same thing in our games. We had the ref yelling at us, hey, don't do that. If you do it again, I'll call you on something else.
Yeah.
It's just part of the game. I don't know. It never really crossed my mind that it would lead to something like this.
So do you think that he shouldn't? Like, should there have been a penalty for him then?
No, I mean, I don't like the makeup calls. I think that's dumb. Like, call the rules as you call the rules. If you got to manage the game, that is different than the makeup calls to me. Managing the game, setting the tone, making sure that things don't get out of control. That's a different thing than like, oh, I feel bad because I gave the other team a penalty and they got scored on.
Right.
So no, I don't think he should have called the penalty.
But do you think that he should have been penalized? That Tim Peel should have? Yeah. Do you think that he should be benched for the rest of this year?
No. But there's a wrinkle to this situation now. Right? Now that gambling has become part of the NHL's world.
Yes. And they very much are okay with that. You cannot turn on to, American broadcasts, you see that on almost every single one. It's on the boards. It's on the ticker. They've got them. They've sponsored
the gambling
segments.
Sites.
The gambling sites. They sponsor segments. It's like, here's our keys to the game brought to you by, or here's the bets we think you should be placing.
Yeah. So this is, I think, where it's a little sticky for the NHL is if the perception is out. Well, it's not just a perception at this point because he's caught on tape admitting that he's giving a call that he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That can't be out there. And that can't be perceived to be okay by the league.
And that is a different situation.
That's a different situation because now you are actually calling into question the integrity of the game and the refs and all of that.
See, and I think that, I would hope that this is something that makes the league change the way that they do it. I want them to then take this situation and say, look, we don't want this again. Because I agree. I don't think he should have been penalized. I don't think that he should have been benched for because it's something that happens, right? And again, Tim Peel has a history of being not that great of an official.
Yeah.
That said, this was not the thing that he should have been benched for. What should have happened was the NHL should, I get it, right? From the optics side, you need to have that. But from the side of trying to get things right, you need to go to your officials, like, just call the game.
Yeah.
And no one's going to be upset about that.
No.
If you keep tripping people and they keep calling you, stop tripping people. If you're slashing people, that's against the rules. Just call the penalties the way they're supposed to be called, because that's the only way that the NHL can get out from this. The way that they shouldn't be getting out from this is literally the next day in the Maple Leafs game when Wayne Simmons goes to ask the official about something and he covers his microphone. That's not how you get out from it.
I'm not going to lie. I'd be covering my microphone too.
It's now your job on the line, right?
100%. I saw what they did to my colleague last night. I'm not putting myself in that situation.
Especially when it's, maybe not by the book, the decision you made, and you're trying to explain it to a guy. You can either tell him take a hike, or you can be on the side of the player and try to keep them happy and not get busted for it.
But again, a great example of the players and the teams understanding that, like, this is just the way the game works, and this is the environment we have to play within. Like, they get it.
Yeah. The players know. The players are not upset about this at all.
No. He was actually saying it to Forsberg. Tim Peel was.
I thought he was saying it to Matt Duchene. That's what I understood.
Oh, maybe Duchene or Forsberg, whatever. It was a Nashville player.
Exactly. Yeah. He was saying, like, hey, I needed to do that early.
And if this was completely out of the ordinary, like, I'm sure Nashville would have lost their minds.
Yes.
And left the bench and just said, forget this.
Yeah.
I'm not playing if the ref's going to do that. They just know it's part of the game.
Yeah. No one acted any differently on the ice. On the bench, nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
They just got on with the game.
Do you think anything will change game-wise because of this?
No. They had to make an example of the guy who got caught. which kind of sucks. The fact that he was in kind of the home stretch of his career and he's not going to get to play out his last however many games. He got caught. Probably wasn't even his fault that he got caught.
I just like essentially him being placed on desk duty now by the league really makes me wish that there was some sort of like NHL official buddy cop movie. That's what I want. I don't want like Mighty Ducks Game Changers. Now I want NHL officials, or like make it like just do a documentary and make it like that. Like their behind the scenes Winter Classic show. Change it up. We now got buddy cop officials. Gary Bettman makes a cameo. Colin Campbell's in there. This is what we want.
I want the Office style sitcom, and it's just called Referee Room.
I like it.
But it's like the Office referees.
Ooh.
You don't see any on ice action throughout the run of the series. It's just them in the office.
I'm okay with that. This is
That'd be great, right?
Absolutely. Let's make it happen. I mean, that we would never get. The NHL will let you behind the scenes of a few things inside, and if the officials they don't even let the coaches go talk to the player, the refs after the game. They don't let the actual media.
Except for now, because apparently the refs have to stay in the same hotels as the players.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It's apparently led to some pretty uncomfortable situations because they all get tested at the same place and all of that.
We all made it through the bubble where playoff teams all stayed at the exact same hotel last year. I think these guys can buck up and just be okay with staying at the same hotel as the officials.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Not at all. All right, we got a trade this week.
We did get a trade. A Canadian trade.
A Canadian trade, which actually, I guess the other news before, let's talk about the trade first. Eric Staal going to the Montreal Canadiens from Buffalo for a 3rd and a 5th round pick. Pretty minor pieces going back the other way for Eric Staal.
Yeah, but I mean, would you give up more than that for him?
No, I mean, especially with what his production this year. He plays in Buffalo, so it's already down from what it could be. But certainly, I mean, for Montreal to be able to get a center where they're significantly weak in that area, to be able to bring that in and get someone, a solid player that you know what you're going to get from, I think it's a good pickup for them.
Yeah, I think so. And it was what, a 2nd round pick?
I thought it was
something like that. A 2nd and a 3rd. A 3rd and a 5th.
3rd and a 5th, yeah.
Which is, Eric Staal for a 3rd round pick is fine. I think he's still a serviceable player. We saw that in Minnesota.
Absolutely. And I don't think he completely fell apart in this last year. He was good in Minnesota. He was a fine player. And I think given the chance in Montreal playing with, a new environment and maybe a happier environment, see what he can do. It'll be good. I mean, he said himself that he's very happy to not have to answer questions about Buffalo anymore.
I don't blame him. Can you blame him? Can you imagine having to face the media now in Buffalo? Oh, man.
Especially as like a veteran guy in on a 1-year deal. Like, I'm not here for this. I'm here to play some hockey, and I'm here to now get out of this town and not have to deal with this anymore. Him getting traded is a dream.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, for the Canadiens, this pretty much tells us that they're pretty sure they're going to the playoffs, right?
I guess so. With what we've seen in that division and how things are shaken down, there's really, 3 teams are pretty locked in that division right now, right? Toronto, Edmonton, pretty comfortable. Winnipeg, looking pretty good. Calgary, Ottawa, they're no bueno. So it makes Vancouver, Montreal fighting for that last spot. Yeah,
and currently, as of Monday, March 29th, Montreal is 2 points ahead of Calgary and Vancouver for that playoff spot, but they also have 2 games in hand.
I was going to say, Montreal hasn't played in a while. I believe they actually get back tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, after their COVID vacation, COVID shutdown. So they should be back tomorrow against the Oilers.
But I think at this point in the season, I hate admitting this because of how much we ragged on them at the start of the season. They're probably the most likely team to get that last playoff spot.
I think so. I mean, we ragged equally on Calgary and Vancouver. I think the team we ragged on the least is the team most likely to not miss it. Like we looked at Vancouver and said, "Oh, they're not for real." We looked at Montreal and said, "They're also not for real."
Yeah.
And then Calgary was the one that we had the most hope for, and now look at them.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess if you're the Habs, yeah, go for it. You give up your third and your fifth. Who cares? You're going to the playoffs. Bring in some depth where you need it to give yourself a chance.
Well, in Montreal, also with the college hockey season winding down, Cole Caufield got signed, and he's going to start in the AHL.
Yeah.
So he's starting there. But another piece that give him some time there, and he can be a free agent pickup if that works out.
You think he'll get time this year? Has he been like lights out in college?
He's been fine. I think
Seems
he
like
gets
a big jump to me to make.
I think he gets a try. But we've seen other players be able to make that jump. I mean, they were more dominant in college.
But at that age?
Yeah. What? Because Cale Makar did it 2 years ago. He jumped straight into a playoff series.
Yeah, but he's like really, really good.
Well, maybe Cole Caufield will be really, really good. I think give him that time in the A, but I think unless he's miserable and like goes goalless or like maybe 1 goal in 10 games, like give him a try. With where Montreal's at, I think that you need to do that. Get him in there and see what you can get.
I don't know why. Every time I hear his name, I think of Catcher in the Rye.
For those of us who have never read Catcher in the Rye, can you explain that one to us?
So the main character's name is Holden Caulfield.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense then.
So that would be why I make that connection. But like the main character in that book is he keeps calling everybody a phony. He thinks everyone's fake and too cool. They all think they're too cool for school, but really he's the fake one who's too cool for school.
So is that what, do you extend that then to Cole Caufield?
He's a phony.
How cool is he?
Too cool for school.
Because I mean, cool Cole Caufield, tongue twister, but a great nickname.
Cool Cole Caufield, who I guess he's actually not too cool for school because he's coming from school right now.
Yeah, but he's leaving school. He literally is too cool for school. Oh, so
he's too cool for school.
Yeah, he is.
What a phony.
Just stay in school, Cole. It's not that bad. Finish your degree in whatever you are taking. It's probably helpful in life.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Catcher in the Rye. It's an okay book.
That's not selling me to read it. I haven't read a book this entire pandemic. I'm not going to start with the book that was just okay.
So you still got Scotty Bowman's collecting dust on the shelf too, eh?
Yeah. I mean, we'll read it eventually.
Off-season book club.
Off-season. Yeah, that's what we said last off-season. I don't see why we can't do it this off-season.
We can say we're going to do it and then just put it off again this year.
Yeah. I mean, no one was clamoring for our book club. So if you're clamoring, if you annoy us enough, we'll read it. But another addition to that, it was less important with Montreal being off for this time, but the Canadian quarantine for players, they reached an agreement, NHL and the Canadian government reached an agreement reducing the quarantine time to 7 days from 2 weeks before. So if a trade or waiver claim is made from Canada and America, there's now only 7 days that they have to wait to be able to play a game in Canada.
That makes the trade deadline way more appealing for Canadian teams.
Definitely. So that push that we kind of expected to happen leading up to it, maybe less so now.
And that decision was made by the Canadian government, right? who are obviously all NHL fans, and they're probably just as bored as the rest of us with the lack of action happening.
Yeah. Justin Trudeau is sitting there also wanting to watch trade deadline day and doesn't want to be bored. JT
from Quebec, you know what happened? Bergeron probably called him up and he's like, Justin, I have a trade. Can you help me out?
Yeah.
And JT was probably like, yes.
Click. This trade I'm trying to pull through is stalled at the border. Can you help me out?
Classic Justin. Figured it out for his Habs.
Of course he would. Let's see, where are we at here? Let's take a break here.
Good idea.
And then we will be back on the other side with the Elimination Station. We're going to talk about it was quite the week to have the Florida Panthers in as Nick's Lidstrom. So we'll talk about them and other things. We'll see you soon.
Elimination Station.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everybody. Carl, I like the strategy of when you get lost of where we are in our list of topics, to just go on break.
Just run away from your problems.
That is like pro podcasting, right? That's how you know you've been at it for a while and you are the best in the biz.
Well, hey, do what we can. Good.
Should we eliminate someone?
I think we should.
Okay.
But I've got a bigger problem at hand here. So we're at the Elimination Station where we eliminate a team from playoff contention every week. We said last week, this is the hardest season we have ever had attempting to do this. I've got some concerns.
Okay, hit me with them.
We have a team. This is the second time this year this has happened. We currently have a team that we have eliminated sitting in a playoff spot. That team in question this time is the Nashville Predators. They are sitting in fourth place, at least, in a tie with the Chicago Blackhawks. They own the tiebreaker over them, putting them in a spot in the Central Division. How concerned are you about that?
I don't know. I'm not that concerned because there's a team below them who has a better winning percentage or points percentage and a bunch of games in hand, I believe, which is Dallas Stars. I'm trying to verify this games in hand thing right now because I'm on Hockey Reference. And
I mean, if the point percentage is better than then they would have games in hand. They have 4 games in hand, Dallas.
Yeah. So I could see Dallas making a push and knocking Nashville out.
I will say that whatever website you said you were on Hockey Reference, that would not be updated on a points per game basis. Nashville does have more than Dallas.
You're right. I'm on NHL.com now, and you are correct. I'm still not that sold on Nashville. They are currently on a 5-game win streak, and 2 of those games were against the Red Wings.
Okay. That certainly helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps. This week, they've got Dallas, so that'll tell us something.
That's a test.
And then they've got Chicago on the weekend.
Right.
So the next 3 games are going to be pretty crucial for them. I'm still kind of hung up on the fact that Nashville gave up on themselves so early.
Yeah. When in a season where, they said that everyone was available. Right? I mean, they didn't say it, but they did.
Yes, they absolutely did. But now apparently they're back in the mix. Who knows what they're going to do? Roman Josi coming back from injury was good.
Yes. Turns out getting your captain back is a good thing.
Yes. He was very good. So I don't know, Carl. I don't know whether to be nervous or not. I think I'll be more comfortable next week making a call on the Nashville Predators.
Okay. Looking at the schedule, I mean, because there's really only, what's interesting about this division is there is only one team that's truly out of it, right? The Detroit Red Wings are the only team that is out. Columbus is only 3 back of Nashville and Chicago. And as you mentioned, Dallas has a number of games in hand, 4 in hand on all 3 of those. So if they win 3 of those, then they're in a tie. And a significant amount of games against the Red Wings. They have 4 games still against the Red Wings. Dallas does. So
Dallas does, yeah.
So we will see where that takes them. So we're not taking them out this week. We will revisit it next week. I will make a note. Where do you want to go to eliminate a team this week then?
I think we should go to the East.
All right. The old Eastern time zone. The teams we have eliminated there already are the low-hanging fruit of the Buffalo Sabres, who have now been shut out more times than they have won this year. If you, without looking, how many times do you think the Sabres have won a game? They've played 33 games.
Oh. How many wins do they have? They've lost 17 in a row. 10?
6.
Oh, I was going to say 7, and I was like, that's too low.
Yeah, so in those first 16 games, they won 6 of them. Still not a good record, but then they really fell off a cliff.
Yeah, it's been bad for them. Can we take them out of the elimination station just to put them back in this week?
You know what? Why don't we fire up next season's elimination station right now? And while we wait to see what we do with Nashville, we'll just eliminate Buffalo again. How about that?
That's great.
All right. Well, if we're in the East, we eliminated them. We eliminated New Jersey.
Yep.
There are 5 teams. The New York Rangers have 34 points. The Flyers have 36. Boston has 39. And then it's a 7-point buffer up to Pittsburgh. They feel pretty safe right now. So which of Boston, Philadelphia, and the Rangers are you wanting to eliminate?
I think the New York Rangers.
I feel like that's the safest option.
Right? I think so. I'm also pretty sure we already put Philadelphia in the playoffs. So that's another one we may need to address.
That's future us's problem. Yes, we have already locked. Turns out that trying to do it simultaneously also makes it that much more difficult.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Philadelphia for a second before we get into the Rangers?
Sure.
So they came out today. Alain Vigneault came out today and said that Carter Hart would be benched for the next 2 games so that he can figure out the mental side of the game. So healthy scratched Carter Hart for 2 games. What do you think about that being the way that getting him fixed is handled?
I mean, it kind of, I think that probably does more to hurt one's confidence than help it. But I also think that there's probably a lot of conversations happening behind the scenes of what's going to happen while he's scratched during those 2 games. He's probably going to be working with the goaltending coaches and other team staff to get back up top of his game. I don't know. I can't imagine that it's a good thing for him.
I mean, if you are going to keep tossing him out there and he's going to keep playing the way that he has, there is no one out there, not even Mrs. Hart, who is more of a Carter Hart apologist than myself.
That's true.
And what I'm going to use that to say is that he is much better of a goalie than what we're seeing from him this year. And whatever it is that is getting in the way of him being able to do that, he needs to be able to find a way to fix it. That's without a doubt. So,
but Philadelphia's woes are deeper than just Carter Hart, right? Like on this terrible stretch that they're having, they're not scoring a ton of goals either.
It's true.
One goal to, although 8-3, that's a tough one.
And what they need to stop doing is playing the Rangers. The Rangers lit them up. In the last week, they outscored them 17-3. So
yeah, that's not great. Philadelphia having a tough go right now. But I'm not ready to pull them out just yet.
If this stretch, right, if you sit him, I don't know why you would sit him again. Look, if there's any team that's a slump buster, they're playing the Sabres. Like, why are you pulling him against the team that you use to get back going?
I don't know. It makes me think there's maybe something else going on. Maybe he's the driver of this, saying like, look, I just need a break for a little bit. Let me reset myself and I'll get back into it. I don't know. They're essentially shutting him down for the rest of March, right?
Yeah. That said, the Sabres are currently up 2-0 in that game.
Oh, are we going to get a Buffalo win tonight?
We are on the verge of a Carter Hart benching Buffalo win, all in the same event.
I think all of planet Earth is hoping the Buffalo Sabres can win a game sometime soon.
Are we? At this point in time, just keep it going. Keep rolling.
I can't anymore. It's too painful.
And look, for the people of Buffalo, they deserve a win. But I like to see history, and I would like to see the longest winning streak in NHL history, or losing streak.
They're getting pretty close, aren't they?
Yeah. They are.
And it's a team that should not have gotten to this point.
No. I mean, we've talked about that. That's a weird... When you... Look, a little behind the scenes things. When you type something into Google, you know what auto completes?
Yeah.
I would like you to explain to me. I'm going to look it up while you explain, but I was typing in longest losing streak in NHL into Google and it auto completed. Can you explain to me what it means when it auto completed longest losing syringe?
No, I cannot explain that, Carl. Longest losing syringe? What could you have possibly been?
I don't know what Google thought that was the thing.
What are people like? How to find my missing syringe? Help, I've lost my syringe.
I don't know. Anyways, do you want to know what the longest losing streak is?
Yeah.
It is 18.
And they're at 17?
And they are at 17.
Okay, hold on. Was it the St. Louis Blues?
No. You're thinking of that cup year.
No, I want to say that this losing streak was like in the 80s or something, or the 70s, something dumb like that.
This losing streak was in the 2000s.
Oh, Atlanta?
Not Atlanta.
In the 2000s.
This is a team that like went from being real terrible to real good pretty quickly.
So you're Avalanche?
Okay now. We were pretty okay in 2000s. No. They got some help from Gary Bettman to make it happen. A little dice luck.
I'm going to say the Pittsburgh Penguins.
It is the Pittsburgh Penguins of 2003-2004.
18 game losing streak?
18 games.
Wow. That was pre-Crosby. Sidney Crosby never would have stood for that.
That's pre-Crosby Malkin. For sure, you cannot be doing that with those two on the team.
Interesting. Anyways, remember about the Elimination Station?
Oh, yeah, that's the thing we were doing. New York Rangers. Look, so you're telling me we're going to put a team in the Elimination Station that just beat up the Flyers 17-3 in 2 games in the last week? That's what we're doing? Okay.
Yes.
Just checking.
Don't you agree?
I do. Yeah.
I honestly think with everyone that we haven't eliminated yet, they're probably the easiest team to eliminate right now.
Oh my goodness. Okay, can we just cycle back very, very quickly?
Okay, yes.
This 03-04 Penguins team might be the hottest garbage I've ever experienced for a team.
I mean, weren't they just straight up tanking?
Yes, but the leading scorer of this team was a defenseman. That defenseman was Dick Tarnstrom.
I don't even know who that is. Tarnstrom?
Tarnstrom. So let's play everyone's favorite game. Where is Dick Tarnstrom from?
I don't know. Canada?
He's Swedish. And
hold on.
Okay, holding.
Dick Tarnstrom is a Swedish name. Does it have the umlaut over the O?
This was the 2000s, where it's not like now where we acknowledge people's actual names.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So however, his son, Oliver Tarnstrom, drafted by the Rangers in the 3rd round last year.
Oh, look at that.
So speaking of the Rangers,
there's our segue.
Fixed it. Again, best in the business us here, Nick. So what are you thinking? If we need to fix the New York Rangers, they said 2 years ago, they said, look, we're rebuilding, bear with us, we'll get better. Is this where you expected them to be at the start of this year?
No, I didn't expect them to win 2 draft lotteries.
Well, okay. I guess 2 years ago when we started this, yes, Kakko and Lafreniere, you certainly did not expect that to happen.
No, they also went out and got Panarin.
Yeah, which, by the way, just not to sidetrack us again, the draft lottery rules officially, those are happening. The changes, the Ranger rules are in place.
Well, some of the rules, right?
Well,
but the ones that prevent teams from way down low to jump up into the top 3 or 4 have come into place for this year.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Continue.
But that being said, look, if the Rangers finish in the bottom 11, they could still jump up.
In theory, yes. I mean, yeah, this year they could.
Imagine.
3 in a row.
Man. People would lose their minds.
I'm here for it. I have nothing against the Rangers. They can get that if they want to. Why not?
This team's in a good place though, right?
I think so. So what is it when you look at the Rangers, what is it that's getting them right now eliminated from the playoffs?
Their defense.
Which they did also go out and pick up Jacob Trouba a few years ago.
I know, but I don't think Jacob's Trouba is as good as everyone says he is.
And he'd look real good on Winnipeg again.
Well, yeah, that's because Winnipeg went from all defense to no defense.
That's a mistake. So we got that. I mean, there's a certain defenseman that they're missing for some reason right now.
Yes.
Then they made a trade this week as well. Brandon Lemieux.
Yeah, they sent him to LA. Is that right?
Yeah, which
for a pick, so a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
So I mean, in them moving out depth pieces, they're kind of also saying we're done.
Yeah, I think so. It was a 4th round pick, by the way.
But the biggest piece, I mean, so you talk about defense, right? And them needing more of it and needing to be better. The big piece for them that's really been a showing this week. I mean, especially this week, coming off of being the number 1 star in the league, Adam Fox.
Yeah, he's had a good week.
Not just a good week, a good seat. He's 3rd on this team in scoring. He is the leading defenseman in points on the Rangers. And when you look at what he's been able to do and kind of that progression, he was a highly sought after guy who pretty much just said, I'm only going to the Rangers.
Yeah.
And has been worth it for them. Certainly they didn't really give anything up for him, but he's a defenseman that is really come into his own this year.
He's only 22.
Yeah. He's only going to get better.
He's going to get better. Yeah. So that's a bright spot for them on the blue line for sure. Panarin, do they need more from him this year?
I mean, when you think of him missing that time, right? Because he had that time when he was away from the team for a bit.
Yeah.
Is now back. And I think what he's put up production-wise has been good. Artemi Panarin, to me, has never really been like next level. He is very, very good, but he is not the guy that will be able to take you from, I mean, not even Connor McDavid can will the Oilers into the playoffs. And I don't think Panarin's at that point either. What I think we need is just another year more of development for some of these other pieces behind him.
I agree. And every year we'll get better for this team. I mean, you can't draft in the top 3 2 years in a row and be bottom of the league for much longer.
I mean, try telling the New Jersey Devils that.
So, okay, I stand corrected. The league won't let it happen to the Rangers. They make too much money.
That's true. They'll will them to win another lottery. But so Alexis Lafreniere, not exceptionally good this season, but good enough for a rookie coming off of a year where he didn't really have much of a junior season.
Yes.
The one that is more concerning is Kakko. How concerned are you on a scale of Vegas Golden Knights to Buffalo Sabres? How concerned are you about Kaapo Kakko?
Hold on. I'm unclear on this scale. Is super concerned Buffalo Sabres?
Yes.
Not so concerned as Vegas Golden Knights?
Yes.
I'm closer to Vegas than I am Buffalo.
Okay, so you would be like
I don't know from a numerical perspective. Is 1 Vegas and 10 Buffalo?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Okay, so I'm like at a 4 or 3.
So you're like a Winnipeg Jets or like a Florida Panthers.
Probably more Winnipeg than Florida.
Okay. There you go.
He's young, man. He's so young. He's been dealing with injuries a little bit here and there. I'm not that worried about Kaapo Kakko.
I'm not either. Well, he'll get more time. Again, another player that had a shortened season that didn't get as much development as normal. I think getting him back with a full training camp and all those different things next year would be the true time. If he's putting up this production next year, absolutely be worried.
Yeah.
But, and I mean, this team, even still looking at what they are doing this year, it is ridiculous how young this team is. Like across the board, up and down, in net, forward. Like Panarin is the old man on this roster, and he is 29.
It's crazy, eh?
So, I mean, there is not. Brendan Smith is the only player who has played, and Jack Johnson are the only players above 30 to skate, and then they have Keith Kincaid in net. That's it.
I'm not gonna lie. I can't believe Brendan Smith's still playing in the NHL.
I can't believe Jack Johnson's still playing in the NHL.
Yeah, that one's bad.
And he was put on waivers, so that also makes sense. But
no, I think this team is young. I think they have a ton of potential. This year's not their year. Collect another nice, top draft pick in the first round and keep going. It's only going to get better every year for them. And
Shesterkin's been great for them. He is not the reason they've been losing. So they've got a goalie they can rely on. They just need to keep producing. And we can see, I mean, sure, it's against the Flyers, but they can put up some big numbers when they put their mind to it.
Yeah, that is one thing. We always come back to goaltending as what a team can fix. This team doesn't need to fix their goaltending. They're in good shape.
They're one of there's been 2 teams in the Elimination Station where them and the Ducks probably are the only 2 where we're like, just keep doing that. Don't fix that one.
Yeah.
They've got the hard part sorted. So that's good. All right, let's look. I just mentioned the Panthers. They were our Nick's Lidstrom last week, and a noteworthy week for the Florida Panthers, because unfortunately for them, in the midst of an amazing season where he's really cemented himself as one of the better defensemen in the league, Aaron Ekblad, out for the rest of the season.
Oh, did you see the fall?
As a person who hurt their knee playing hockey, I couldn't watch it twice.
No, I couldn't either. That's one of those plays you watch kind of through your fingers. Oh, yeah. It looks so painful.
And it always looks better because like they wear so much equipment, so it doesn't look as painful. But you just like think about like, what do you have to be doing for your body to turn like that? And it's not good.
Yeah. And they announced today he's out for the season.
12 weeks is the official number that they said, which puts him, 12 weeks from now? That's 3 months. That puts him end of June. So unless the Panthers are making the cup, he's not going to be there.
That's rough. That's like Stamkos level injury.
Yeah. Except they don't have like the rest of the Tampa Bay Lightning to replace him.
That's true.
Like they don't have when Nikita Kucherov goes out for the entire year, they don't have the rest to fill in. So and with where they've been though, I mean, they're still currently firmly in a playoff spot. And what stood out to you watching the Panthers this week?
I thought their goaltending looked good yesterday. Yesterday was the game I watched the most of. And actually, like I tuned in after all the scoring happened. So I just watched Dallas like beat down on them for most of the game. And this Chris Driedger guy, man, where did he come from?
Yeah, he's a good little find for Florida.
He's a good little find. He's having a very good year. But we talked about this before the show too. Bobrovsky's he's kind of bounced back a little bit.
Yeah, he's taken the net back. When I think last time we talked about the Panthers, and specifically them, there was a question of that. And he's played at least 2/3 of the games for them in March and played well in there. He has cemented himself as like, I'm the guy and I can lead this team.
And you know what that does for the team? It gives them confidence. And don't you think that they're playing with a lot of confidence right now?
Absolutely.
They look confident.
Which that's my concern with Ekblad going out.
Yeah. And they got the wind sucked out of them last night.
They held on for the win last night, but there was no jump in their step at all the rest of that game.
Yeah.
There was no winner for Ekblad. And I get it, right? You just watched your captain go out. It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
And so I question where they're going to find that the rest of the way, because you've got to get back out there. It's a short season. You don't have time to wallow and to find out, where are we going to go? You have to be able to rally and win. And I mean, even just performance wise, there's no replacing him.
No, you're not going to replace Ekblad. I guess luckily for them, their next 2 games are against the Red Wings. So maybe they can refine that confidence by beating down on the worst team in the league. Second worst team in the league.
I was going to say, tell that to the Flyers who thought they could bounce back against the 17 game losing streak Sabres. Which update, that game is 3-0 Sabres after 2.
Wow. They must be ecstatic. Is Kevin Adams still behind the bench?
No, I believe that the interim coach is back.
Okay. Yeah, they're gonna have to dig down and find that spark. They can't let this Ekblad injury drag down the rest of their season.
And they need to be able to do it. Do you think with the deadline coming, would you expect them to go out and make a move for a defenseman to try to replace him?
I think they'll certainly try to make a move, not to replace him. I mean, you're just not going to replace him. There's not going to be any players of that caliber available for you to go and get at this trade deadline, nor would it make sense to give up what's required to give up for it.
So you would not be in favor of the Florida Panthers going and getting Matthias Ekholm?
Yeah, I would love that. You think that they'll do it though?
Hey, but like when you said that there's no way to replace him, that's probably that's the best defenseman on the block, if he still is even.
Well, yeah, who knows anymore?
We've seen this front. I mean, they went out, they made a big play for Bobrovsky. They made a big play and got Coach Quenneville in there. This is a front office that is willing to make those moves and to get those things happening. Nothing would surprise me with the Panthers.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
So welcome to Florida, Matthias Ekholm. And that's really the only, we've got like some minors like Goligoski, Savard. I don't know, any defensemen in Detroit that you want to pawn off on the Panthers?
Yeah, Mark Staal.
There we go. Mark Staal, welcome.
There's your Ekblad replacement.
There's your Ekblad replacement. Can we get all of the Staal brothers traded at the deadline? Is that a thing that we could make happen?
I don't know. I was low-key hoping that the other two would go back to Carolina and that all three of them would play in Carolina together.
That sounds great. Let's make that happen.
It's not going to happen now. Eric just got traded to Montreal.
Montreal could fall out of contention. And then they trade him again, this time to Carolina.
At least you don't have to quarantine going back the other way.
It's true. That'd be a rough go for him. Anyways, so I like what I saw from the Panthers. I am, however, concerned moving forward.
We'll see. The next few games are going to dictate a lot for them.
Especially since it's, as you said, it's against the Red Wings. The ultimate litmus test.
I think that's a good thing for Florida.
Yeah, Detroit could not have showed up on their schedule at a better time. You're absolutely correct. So what team? We've already locked in a team in the playoffs that has their number one goalie benched and is losing to Buffalo.
Didn't we also put Dallas in the playoffs pretty early?
Yes.
And that was second last in their division?
The first two teams that you locked into the playoffs were the Dallas Stars and the Philadelphia Flyers.
Oh, man. I can't believe you keep me around here.
There is a glaring hole in the teams locked into the playoffs, though. And I think you need to look north.
Okay, side note, though, just based on all this, maybe you should start calling me Nick the Stick.
You know what? We'll evaluate your day to day.
Okay, up north, who have we got locked in so far? Toronto?
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh, man. Well, currently, I believe there's a three-way tie, if not a close to three-way tie, for first place in that division.
So the Leafs are 2 points up on the Jets, and then 1 point back is Edmonton, and Toronto also has a game in hand. So they're like pretty firmly in first. Okay. Firmly.
Yeah, for now.
Yes.
Now, this week, we've got Edmonton and Montreal playing. But you know who else we've got? Winnipeg and Toronto.
That's true.
Those would be fun games. If we look at Winnipeg, I'm just looking down the rest of the schedule. Winnipeg only plays twice this week. 3 times. So that's enough, right?
So they play Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, Toronto, Vancouver. Edmonton plays Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver. So we get a variety pack if we pick Edmonton, but we get 2 games with Toronto if we pick Winnipeg.
I think the Winnipeg-Toronto games are going to be better games to watch, more fun to watch.
I think so, especially with, the Leafs without Freddie Anderson and their goaltending, which, Jack Campbell somehow managed to keep doing it.
But he's hurt right now, too.
He's out now.
Yeah. They had to start Michael Hutchison tonight. That's
not going to be good.
Yeah.
Well,
it didn't sound like the Campbell one was super serious, but...
Okay. Well, let's find out. We'll know when we watch these Winnipeg games. So head on over to our Twitter. And I know that we've said this week after week after week, but next week is officially it. We are going to have our friends. And you know what? Let's just say it now.
Yes.
What we've got. Next week, we're going to have our friends. We might actually have... I'm not going to tease the other one because we might have double guests next week. After all this teasing, we might have 2 sets of guests next week. So, but our friends from the store next door are going to be on next week, letting us know what they do, but also that's where we're going to be giving our prizes away. So we are going to, before the show, so that if it is as jam-packed as predicted, we'll pick a winner. So this is your last chance. If you want to win something, we're going to be giving away a prize from them. They make some amazing stuff. You can Google them. I did not prep this part, obviously, as you can tell. So if you want to Google them and find out what they do, or you can just tune in next week and find out what it is that they make and why we're so excited to be giving away some amazing prizes from them. So stay tuned for that. Very excited to have them on, hopefully next week. And you know what? Even if scheduling does not work for next week, then we will just make it happen another way. So
yeah, I'm excited for these prizes.
We've been waiting to announce this that's why there've been no prizes. So
yeah,
we're going to announce that. And you know what? We'll just hand out a prize anyways, even if they're not on, and reset the schedule and reset the old grid. So this is your last chance. Head over to Twitter. We play over under. So we're going to pick the over under on these games. And I mean, with goaltending questions for Toronto, but also Connor Hellebuck in net for Winnipeg, I think we can expect some pretty low lines with the potential of Winnipeg winning and pushing that lineup is what I would be looking at.
Yes.
You seemed to disagree.
I'm sorry, Carl. Look, I'm not going to lie. I zoned out for a minute there.
Were you already writing the jingle in your head? Is that what was happening?
I may have been doing a little pre-planning.
Well, I'm going to let Nick finish writing the end of the show jingle.
No, I got it. It's done now.
All right. I'm glad. So
you were talking about over under the Winnipeg Toronto series. Toronto's goaltending troubles. I'd pick the over. Okay.
Nick's picking the over. I probably would too. You can do that on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we've got great articles from folks. We've had this week an article, where are some possible places Taylor Hall ends up, as well as that review of Mighty Ducks Game Changer. So head on over to thefourthlinepodcast.com where you can find more about our show and see the things from the great writing team over there. Facebook.com/thefourthlinepodcast. You can email us if you really want something longer than a tweet or any sort of message. Mail at thefourthlinepodcast.com is the place to go there. And until next week.
Time for us to wrap up another Fourth Line show. I know what you're thinking. You don't want us to go. Instead of watching another Gary Bettman Zoom, I would rather binge watch the referee room.